distant crickets. It happened about 7 or 8 years ago in a quiet, forgotten village somewhere in rural America, a place where people lock their doors before 10 and no one dares to walk alone after midnight. Sick, creepy whisper sound. Right in front of the old sheriff's house, there's a narrow road with a small culvert beside it and a thick, overgrown bush. Locals say that place has a history, and that night, something happened again.
Begins.
Around 11:30 p.m., a lone rickshaw driver, well, in America, let's say a bike taxi rider, was heading down that empty road with a single passenger, no cars, no lights, no people, just darkness and silence. As they approached the culvert, they saw something strange, something white, lying still on top of it. Dedic sec sudden eerie sound. At first, they thought it was just trash, but as they got closer, it looked like a body, covered in white cloth. They stopped, got down slowly. The passenger whispered, "Someone must have left this here. We can't just leave it like this." He wanted to take the body, give it a proper burial. But the driver stepped back. No way. Just pay me and let me go." The man hesitated, then said, "I'll pay you extra, $100 more," sec tension sound. That changed things. The driver agreed, but with one condition. "You carry it yourself." The man nodded, and slowly, he walked toward the body. His hands trembled as he pulled back the white cloth. From the face, the eyes were open, staring right at him, sec sharp horror sting. He froze, trying to convince himself it's just a dead body. But then, he pulled the cloth down a little more, and what he saw next was not human. The body was covered in thick, rough hair, like an animal, like sheep's wool, but darker, twisted, unnatural. Whisper sound, 2 sec. The man screamed and collapsed unconscious. At that exact moment, the driver let out a terrified cry and ran without looking back. He reached the nearest house, banging on the door, screaming, trying to explain what he saw. People gathered. They grabbed flashlights and rushed to the culvert. But when they got there was nothing. No body, no cloth, no sign of anything. And the man, the passenger, he was gone too. Lance, then low rumble. The next morning, villagers returned to search again, and this time, they found something. Under the culvert, half buried in mud, was the man's body, lifeless, cold, but his face was frozen in terror. Sec deep horror sound, and the strangest part, there were no footprints, no signs of struggle, no explanation, only that road, that culvert, and the silence that still lingers there. Whisper fades out. Some say, whatever was lying there that night was never a body. It was waiting. Ninal 2 sec, echoing horror sound. Plus distant night ambience. We all grew up listening to ghost stories. Stories told by grandparents, late at night, just before sleep. Most of us grew up and forgot them. But some places don't let you forget. Sec eerie whisper sound. Even today, in a world of satellites and the internet, there are places that refuse to be explained. This is the story of one of them. Ambient drone begins. Somewhere in a quiet American town, hidden between ordinary houses, stands an apartment building. Nothing unusual at first glance, but locals, they avoid it. The exact address, no one really gives it clearly. And maybe that's intentional. I decided to find out the truth. So one afternoon, I went there. Sec subtle tension sound. The building was easy to find. But answers, not so easy. The man at the nearby convenience store, the old janitor, even the neighbors, they all spoke carefully, avoiding details, changing topics. And that's when I realized something had really happened there. Heartbeat slowly fades in. About 11 years ago, A young girl took her own life inside one of the apartments. They said she wasn't mentally stable, but after her death, things changed. Sek's sudden horror sting. Tenants who moved in never stayed long. Late at night, around 1 or 2 a.m., people started noticing something strange. A swing on the apartment balcony, moving back and forth, even when there was no wind. Sek creaking swing sound. Some even claimed they saw someone sitting on it, but when they looked again, it was empty. Then came the sounds. Footsteps, dragging noises, whispers, inside locked rooms. People rushed to check, but every time, nothing. No one there. Sek low whisper sound. But that wasn't the worst part. Every new moon night, between midnight and 3 a.m., something else appeared. A group of dogs. Black, silent, walking in a perfect line, in front of the building. At first, it didn't seem strange, until people noticed. They only appeared on new moon nights, and never again for the rest of the month. Sek distant dog howl. A group of young men decided to investigate. They stayed outside, waiting, watching. What they saw changed them forever. The dogs weren't normal. Their eyes glowed blue in the darkness, and they moved in perfect rhythm, like something was controlling them. 2 of the boys were attacked, badly injured. Later, they all said the same thing. Sek distorted growl sound. Those weren't dogs, but there was something else, even more disturbing. Late at night, people began seeing a woman walking slowly down the hallway. She wore a yellow dress with red edges, her hair messy, her face unclear. No one knew where she came from or where she went, but many had seen her. Sek's soft female whisper. And then, the final mystery. Inside that same apartment, water would collect on the floor, but it wasn't normal water. It was dark red, like blood. No matter how many times the owner repaired the floor, it kept coming back, along with constant power failures. Eventually, everyone left that apartment. No one rents it anymore. The door remains closed, always. Before leaving, I asked the old janitor one last question. "Do you believe in ghosts?" He looked at me, smiled slightly, and said, "If you believe in them, you might find one walking beside you." Sek deep echo sound. I laughed at first, but later, walking back alone, through that empty road, I couldn't help but wonder. Whisper fades in. What if he was right? What if something was already with me? 902 Sek horror, sting plus silence. Distant night ambience. A very long time ago, perhaps 1,000 or even 1,500 years ago. In ancient Athens, Greece, there stood a house, not in the city, but far away, hidden in a lonely village, surrounded by mountains and thick like forests. The house itself was not broken, not ruined. It could easily be lived in, but no one dared to stay there. Sek eerie whisper sound. People said, something was wrong with that house, something unseen. The owner tried many times to rent it out, but no one stayed long. Until one day, a peaceful man decided to spend a few nights there. The next morning, he was found dead, lying inside the house, eyes wide open, filled with terror. Sek horror sting. At first, people ignored it, but then a soldier came, a brave man, fearless. He stayed one night and survived, but what he said terrified everyone. That night, just after lying down, he saw something, a tall old man standing in front of him with a long gray beard, a terrifying face, and chains wrapped around his hands and feet. Sek chain clanking sound. The figure was whispering something, mumbling, as if trying to speak. The soldier lost consciousness. The next morning, he ran away and never returned. From that day, the house became known as a ghost house. No one entered, not even during daylight. The owner, desperate and hopeless, decided to sell it. for almost nothing. And finally, someone agreed, a philosopher, a man of logic, a man who did not believe in ghosts. He bought the house. In Be a Drone begins. He cleaned it himself, worked all day until he was exhausted. That night, after a simple meal, he went to bed. The window beside him was open. Cool air flowed in, and soon he fell asleep. Suddenly, he woke up. Sick, low rumble sound. A strange feeling. A sound. At first, he couldn't understand. Then, slowly, he realized it was the sound of chains. Faint, distant, dragging across the ground. Sec chain dragging sound. He opened his eyes. Darkness, complete darkness. The room felt heavy, still, as if the air itself had stopped breathing. Then he saw it, a shadow, floating, slowly moving, toward him, chains on its hands and feet, its eyes burning like fire. Sec deep horror sting. The figure raised its hand, as if calling him. Anyone else would have screamed, would have died of fear. But not him. He watched, silent, curious, trying to understand, was it real or just a trick of the mind? The figure came closer, its chains clanking, again and again. Then suddenly, it stopped, and slowly, it began to move backward, out of the room. The philosopher stood up, followed it, step by step, into the dark courtyard. He watched, as the figure moved, to a specific spot, and then it disappeared, like smoke, gone. Sec echo fade sound. The philosopher stood there, thinking. The next morning, he checked the spot. Nothing. Everything normal. But the next night, it happened again, and again, for 3 nights. The same thing, the same figure, the same chains, the same place. Finally, he understood. This was not random. This was a message. Spence music builds. The next morning, he went to the authorities. They returned with workers and began digging at that exact spot. Just a few feet down, they found something. A skeleton bound in chains, rusty, old, forgotten. Sec deep impact sound. The truth was finally revealed. The bones were buried properly, given respect, and after that, the ghost never appeared again. Later, an old villager said, long ago a slave was punished, buried alive. Still chained, still suffering. The philosopher never believed in ghosts, but after that, he understood something. Sometimes, what we call ghosts are just souls seeking peace.